resolution to compression.
This is gold, isn't it, Abby?
Like, is it partly because of their language? So, like, characters are a form of compression of
and the
information.
correct word is not compression; it's optimization. They
Listen to the expert, Diego. You're wrong.
Isa, chill. Well, these things actually have meanings. Well, there's a specific meaning to these words.
They found
you gotta give it up to Diego for not kicking me or modding other people who kicked me, you know? And I'm gonna create a new burner account. It's gonna be called Larry David. Because I'm the modern day Larry David. I am the third in line to the Seinfeld throne. This is it. This is the new Curb Your Enthusiasm. This is the new Seinfeld. We found it, Abby. We found it. It's gold, Abby. Gold!
Since the beginning. So, this is a regular thing that happens.
Exactly, Throbbin.
That 50,000 number
doesn't mean we're participating. It means we're recording. It means we're making a movie, a film, a TV series, something. We're creating, while these people we're meditating while they are pontificating.
So they found it.
Use this as your meditation, Throbbin.
So you can train maybe with fewer GPUs.
Make them your meditation. Don't get angry. Don't cast opinions about them being garbage. Just use them as your meditational technique, your tool. You can do it, Throbbin. Don't get angry, because you will get angry. Cindy Gold. I know Cindy. But yeah, make the introduction again. Oh, yeah. Same shit. I know. It's all good. But utilize this, Throbbin. Don't get angry. Be at peace. Be still, Throbbin. And we'll wrap this up with some wisdom reading. Something that all of these people need desperately in their lives.
And will China lead some of those advances? Probably. Will America do some of them? Probably. I mean, it's a global effort where everyone is learning from everybody else, especially when they publish the details.
Thanks for
so it's not as transformational of a milestone as the press is making it out to be.
But then you're saying that the market is wrong.
Well, I mean, the market goes up, the market goes down. People want to read into this. They want to apply their narrative. They want to apply
let's use his narrative, which is completely
geopolitical struggle narrative. But that sells newspapers. That's not like that realistic.
Yeah, it's all a hoax. Yesterday, NVIDIA didn't crash, Diego. Stop reading the media. Stop trying to make sense of something that actually makes sense.
NVIDIA is out many times. It's come down a tad. It's a buying opportunity, probably.
No, it's just a market correction, right? NVIDIA is still a valuable company, but the market believed NVIDIA was necessary in like a very big way for the next wave.
Correct.
They invested back.
And it changed completely course.
It's another company I like much better.
If there is something I would recommend to this room is to take Mike as financial advice and actually listen to the expert and put your money where his mouth is.
Well, I can tell you a much better stock pick that's coming out because NVIDIA has already had its run-up.
And my mic is financial advice. I just want to make this.
Well, you're allowed to. It's perfectly legal to give opinions on stocks.
How much money
have you made advisor,
wait.
How
much money have you made on stocks like last year?
All of the monies.
I've done quite well. I mean, the market has gone up and up and up for the past 5 years.
That is the
but
words
not
of
better than the rate of inflation.
Up and up and up and
but
up.
I personally do index investing. I rarely buy individual issues.
That makes sense.
But I do look for specific ones that are really good. And there's one coming out soon called Cerebras Systems.
Why is that good?
They're about to do an IPO. They're a company that has built something even better than a GPU, much better than a GPU.
Oh, really?
For AI processing. They have basically built a wafer-sized chip, where instead of when they usually make microchips, they chop up the wafer after they print it, in essence, and actually on their third revision, but they're about to go public.
What's the market say about them?
Well, they're not public yet. Because they have a large external investor. One of their biggest investors is in Asia somewhere. They have to go through this foreign, asset review board or whatever. But they're going public very shortly. I think this is a stock that has every potential to 10x within 5 years, and is almost guaranteed to be acquired by somebody at some point.
It's a foreign language.
But their product is excellent. They're the best thing in the market coming out for AI hardware. And my money is on the giant chip, that's for sure. And I use it every day. I love it.
The giant chip.
Yeah, Cerebrus Systems is what it's called.
I prefer thinking of it as the giant chip.
Hell yeah. The giant chip is fucking awesome. It's the coolest thing since supercomputers. But their new system, you can chain 2,000 of these giant chips together into one massive supercomputer, which has by far more speed than anything else out there.
You think we're on the cusp of some computing breakthroughs?
Well, this is the computing breakthrough. I mean, the issue of neural networks and what makes them fast.
There could be a few more shaken through.
Well, I mean, the problem with computers is
Like a
the
lateral.
memory hierarchy.
Move the technology.
You familiar with the memory hierarchy?
How do you mean?
So computers have different kinds of memory. They have their central processor, the CPU, that actually does the math. And then,
But that's
in
not
order for it to know what to do, it has to be fed its variables, which come from memory. And the farther you get from the CPU, the longer it takes, the longer the CPU has to wait for memory to arrive. So there's a hierarchy of memory. Every CPU has a little bit of memory that's known as the cache, and then there's further out it's RAM memory, hard disks, etc. Each level getting slower and slower. So one of the things about this giant chip is the memory is right there on the chip, reducing the latency. And so this AI is an enormous number of matrix multiplications.
Well, it's like a
Very simple operations over and over and over. So what makes it slow is whenever the processor has to wait for it to load data from memory. So anything that reduces the latency is going to make it faster. So this is not something that they can do. You can't make a system as fast as this giant chip by just adding more GPUs. Because each one is in a separate package, and it takes time
I get it.
for one to signal another. But this giant chip has a network on it.
It's a good lateral solution. It's a simple physics solution to an engineering problem.
Right. There's simply no other way to do it.
Wait, where did Issa go?
I don't know.
So Diego, I have a quick
Because
question.
the computations are dependent on each other. But so how did DeepSeek get
Wait,
so
give me a
much
moment,
faster?
Mike. I'm asking the Diego question. Diego, is this an example of narcissism?
Yes.
What?
A little bit.
What's the narcissism?
Like the wafer thinking it could be the biggest chip. That's narcissistic.
Well, they shipped it. It's not just some feeling. They're on their third version. It generates outputs. Yesterday I was getting 3,000 tokens per second. So instead of sitting there waiting for it to think, you type in your question, you hit enter, you instantly get the answer. You instantly get your program.
Right.
It's clearly the way everything is going to go, I promise you. I've been doing computers my entire life.
I wouldn't say clearly because there are some drawbacks to the design, but I agree with you. It sounds like a step forward.
No, it's one of those things where once users get a taste of a 50x performance increase, everything else becomes pokey. And once the software is on par,
I think that the solution they drove upon, physically tighter, could interfere with the ability to advance, right? When you have everything laid out on a board, it's easy to just mix and match.
well, I mean, every computer is the same. very carefully through the training algorithm, and they found more steps that were independent. They redesigned the algorithm so that there's less dependencies. That way they can run more in parallel. So there's basically just less time that their CPUs are doing nothing. Which is most of the time the CPU is doing nothing. Because its calculations happen really, really, really fast, but memory is quite slow. That's the issue. So it sits there, 950 out of 1,000 time slots. It does its processing in 50 time slots, and then waits, 500 times that amount of time for the next bit of data. So, squeezing more data into the chips, and feeding it faster is the way to make everything go faster.
When I was 10 years ago, I thought that the best way to solve a math equation would be to use an application-specific integrated circuit. And today, I want to solve those math equations with the GPU. Because I'm interested in making money with Bitcoin.
Well, so Bitcoin does an algorithm known as, I think Bitcoin is MD5 or something. Either MD5 or SHA-1, I'd have to take a look, but yeah, I mean, it's just, it is a sequence of simple operations, addition, multiplication, but the answers are dependent on the previous inputs. So it can't be done in parallel. You can't make it faster. You simply have to just iterate through each computation.
Yeah. But do you remember that there was, we've had AI and Bitcoin competing for NVIDIA chip processing power, and suddenly NVIDIA is being dropped as a processor for AI. Obviously it's not being dropped completely, but I'm just saying it's dropping relatively. And that computing power will quickly get seized up by Bitcoiners. So I think NVIDIA should be fine, but that's a good thing for Bitcoin because it means fees will go down.
But I don't think it's quite right. I mean, Bitcoin needs actually even more specialized chips. So they usually build them on what is known as ASICs and things where they can be customized exactly to what Bitcoin needs.
But that's what I was saying. GPUs are now overtaking ASICs for mining in Bitcoin. That was my point.
Yeah, well, I don't follow it too closely. I mean, I'm not that big on Bitcoin, honestly.
How much will it have to go to? 500,000 before maybe you change your mind on that?
I mean, it could go to 500,000, but will it stay there? I mean, I don't. It's like if something is being used as cash, the last thing any participant in the real economy wants from their cash is volatility. Volatility.
Oh yeah, well that's a difference.
For actually using cash.
So what's the third way humans create US? That's right.
There's not some
money in
future where everybody switches to Bitcoin. I mean, it's just
agree.
It's just a casino. It's casino.
Well, let's not trash the most amazing technology in the last 100 years.
It's not that. It's the most amazing Ponzi scheme in the last 100 years. I mean, most people lose money on Bitcoin. I mean, think about it. For one person to make money on Bitcoin, somebody else has to lose money. I'm talking about real money, dollar money, because it doesn't produce any value. It just transfers value.
My Ferrari says otherwise.
No, a Ferrari produces the value of you getting to drive it.
But then it could also go up in value if you buy a year or make that's like sought after, like supply and demand. Like my friend drives Toyotas, and they go up in value somehow. Like the FJ Cruisers and like certain colors and stuff like that.
There's a secondary market, but the secondary market is premised on a primary market, where the value is consumed in the primary market.
Let me ask you
Bitcoin does not have a primary market. It is only a secondary market.
What is the rule that the longer something has been, the more likely it'll continue to be.
It's called the Lindy effect.
The Lindy effect. Okay, so if right now, after 15 years, it is the best performing asset of all time, year after year, at what point would you say, okay, well, the Lindy effect says that if it is the best performing asset of all time, it will continue to be the best performing asset of all time, and maybe I should
first of all, that's
invest in the
impossible.
protocol.
That's
What could you think
impossible
about that's
mathematically.
similar to Bitcoin from before that you could compare it to in the past? Like, what could you, is there a commodity like diamonds or gold or something that you could like compare it to?
I mean,
Are you
that
asking
doesn't actually make sense because the individual returns on the average person will lose money on Bitcoin. So it doesn't perform well for the average person. It's not like, say,
if they hold it for 1 year, the average person makes money.
But like, wasn't the point of
You
it
don't
was
make the
just to
money
like
until you sell.
use
There
it
you go. You have to
as a
execute a buy
currency?
and then to sell.
Like the
Yeah,
point of it was to use as a currency to like buy stuff that people can't like track or whatever.
I don't know if that's what it was. I mean, there's a difference between what the technology is and what people have envisioned it could be, and they've marketed it in that way. They call it digital gold, or they call it, digital cash, and I don't agree with those things. But if you hold it for 1 year, the average return is 150%.
Well, it just depends on when you hold. I mean, Bitcoin has had massive, massive crashes.
For years,
We'll
for years and
inevitably
years.
have them again.
For like 5 years at a time, it would stay at a certain amount, or it would crash and go down like from 30 to 15, or from wherever it would be.
But as a whole, Bitcoin loses money. And let me explain. Okay? Say there is that for whatever reason, there can only be 10 people who trade Bitcoin. And they only have $100 a piece. So the maximum anyone could pay into Bitcoin would be $1,000. The only problem is there's somebody else sitting at the table. Bitcoin allows them to rearrange who has that $1,000 as the Bitcoin price goes up and down, and people buy and sell. But the problem is there's somebody else at the table. The power company is that in order to exchange Bitcoin, you have to use a whole lot of CPU time, which then means your power bill is really high. And that $1,000, today $10 of it goes to the power company. Tomorrow another $10. That $1,000 that everyone trading Bitcoin is exchanging with each other is decreasing constantly. So Bitcoin as a whole loses value. Okay? Now, so this goes back to the theory
Now I
of
think
money.
you're biting more than you can chew.
No. This is a fact about Bitcoin. Okay? So why do people use money in the first place? So does Bitcoin have value as a currency? That's another question. So, why did people create currency to begin with? Well, currency was an alternative to the barter system, right? So it's like when people want to trade something, one person produces one product, another person produces another product. They both benefit more if they can trade with each other. But it's inefficient if you have to compare the relative value of specific products. That's why they created currency, where you can have prices. The prices can estimate the relative values. So can Bitcoin do that? Could you run an economy on Bitcoin? Yes, you could. But there's only one problem. We already have a currency. We already have a currency that the whole economy already runs on.
That loses value over time, right?
Well, no, it actually gains value over time. Because people's incomes go up as productivity goes up.
No, but if I hold $100 starting in 1990 and I want to buy a hamburger,
This is like bad take after bad take after bad take after bad take after bad take.
Right. And there's a lot of reasons.
Mike is closer to the truth than some, but then he falls off the edge. And Diego's way the fuck off the edge, and Princessia's with. Danny's really far gone. That girl's really in trouble. She really needs to read a book. She's got like, I hate to say it, but she's very low IQ. I mean, she needs to like. I asked her yesterday. I was like, "Did you go to college?" She was like, "I started, but I didn't finish." She really needs to take like a public She needs to take a public speaking course and then read books.
My parents would put money in a savings account. It would earn 15% per year.
Right, and where do you think
It was an
that
investment.
15% comes from? It comes from what's known as
Interest rates.
productivity. No, it comes. But what finances the interest rates? It's productivity. So productivity is when the price of a finished good exceeds the price of its inputs.
Fuck.
It rains, the sun shines, your plants grow, you pick them. And now, if you want to stay in business as a farmer, you sell your produce for excess of the price of what the seeds and fertilizer cost.
Okay, but you have to understand, why are you capable of selling it at excess and not at cost? That's because there is a disparity between people desires.
He's a self-taught economist, ladies and gentlemen.
To satisfy those desires.
Well, no, it's also because when the plants grew, that produced real value. The inputs were actually fundamentally transformed into something more valuable.
I understand, but as a person who is competing with you in that same industry, if I can undercut you by a penny and my product is the same, I will take your business, right?
Right. Yeah.
So everybody's competing to bring the disparity between the cost of producing the good and what people are willing to pay for it. They want to have that meet.
Right.
Or
So
as an economist would say, be in equilibrium.
An economist? An economist will tell you that? Wow.
Economics. This is an identity of economics. Marginal costs are equal to marginal revenue, and that includes the cost of capital. I mean, that's just an identity of economics. But here's the thing: what the actual value is in what was produced, is in that finished good. That's what people actually want. That's what you live your life based on. But how you account for that doesn't change its value.
Well, wait a second. So 48 hours ago, people perceived a value in NVIDIA that today, apparently, they don't perceive anymore, and that's reflected in the price of the stock.
Right. Because
what changed?
Well, because the value of the company is not knowable to humans. We have
but the inputs are, and you said inputs.
Well, I mean, so NVIDIA produces products, right? NVIDIA is a chip maker, okay? You know, they design chips and sell them, right? That's their business. But it's like the true value of their company would be the sum of all their future profits. But we don't know what that is. It's like the future is uncertain. So people have to estimate what the future cash flows and profits will be. So those estimates, are an opinion of the future. Like, nobody knows. We won't know until the future happens. And there's also issues of comparable prices. I mean, there's not that many opportunities to buy investments in really nice companies. So they traded actually what's known as a multiple. They traded many times the value of their future earnings. So yeah, I mean, when people perceive, we've learned new information. New information seems to suggest that these people's future earnings will be lower. Well, okay, then their current price, which is premised on those future earnings, we now believe is lower. It's that simple.
Are you a millionaire, Mike?
I mean, I don't like to get too personal. Like, I'm a millionaire on paper. If you added up the value of my businesses, like, do Do I have $1 million cash? No. Do I drive a
No more, you don't have
Mercedes?
to keep
Yes.
going. Oh, you have a Mercedes? Is that do you take a loss on that?
I mean, I just pay I run nice, profitable businesses, and I just pay the lease every month. It's not a loss, it's a gain to me. I love it. But that's not through the business. Like, I don't buy my car through my company.
How do you feel about Tupac when he died? The group smoked his ashes in a blunt.
I support that.
Mike, you're the same guy that was in the room listening to the audiobook, right? You changed your name.
Nope, I always have the same name.
Okay, but you had a different picture. Are you the same guy?
I'm the same guy. The one and only Mike Frager.
By the way, never. You can't just do that. I mean, Adrian's recording. I just was gonna say a statement, but then it would lead to more things, so I just stopped myself. So Adrian was recording me live yesterday, and someone I know was actually standing up for me. Oh, nice. Yeah. That's funny. That was very nice of that person, you know? That's awesome. That's good. So, Danny, you were talking about Bitcoin. Are you familiar? Do you know more than I know nothing about Bitcoin. Well, so I can't even assess. About he made an example before about the 10 and then the people, and you're dividing it and moving it around, but then you also have miners, people mining it. He said something about the electric company. I don't know if that's what he meant or if that's different.
Yeah, well, I mean, so miners are doing computations that allow Bitcoin to be transferred among the different people. And as they do that, the network allocates the miner owners a larger share of the total amount of Bitcoin. But then they have to pay the power companies. As they're doing their mining, electricity isn't free.
Oh,
They
it's so
pay
expensive.
some of their profits. They get Bitcoin, they sell it to somebody, then they pay the power company.
Did you see the school where some genius rigged a school to mine a lot of Bitcoin, and they were taking the money but the electricity was going through the school?
Right. But I mean, somebody was still paying for the power. I mean,
yeah, they got caught. Eventually they got caught, but they got away with it for a while. I was like, what an evil genius.
Well, at my company, we used to run Bitcoin miners on all the computers during their off time because the power wasn't metered, and it went through the landlords, and these computers would just sit there anyways. Might as well mine some Bitcoin. Just didn't add up to that much, but I got a little bit.
Is it chance so if someone goes to spend $1 billion in Bitcoin and you're the one mining that, don't you get a lot, isn't it kind of chance of what you're helping with, or am I wrong with how it works?
Well, I mean, each miner you get a teeny bit of Bitcoin as you mine. It's very, very, very tiny amount. Something like 95 or more percent of Bitcoin has already been mined. So there's only a very, very, very tiny fraction left. But there has to be some kind of equilibrium. If Bitcoin the price wasn't high enough for miners to profit, then the network will actually make it easier to mine. It has feedback processes in there, so that it keeps keeps the network at an equilibrium. But the real question is well, why do people even care about Bitcoin? They only care about Bitcoin because the price has so far historically made new highs. And that was the question earlier. Well, what if it just keeps making new highs forever? Well, for that to happen, you would need a world with an infinite number of people and an infinite amount of money. And that's just not the case. There's only a fixed number of people in the world. It grows very slowly. They only have so much money that they're ever likely to spend on Bitcoin. And once that level is saturated, that will be the final top for Bitcoin, and then it will go down from there as people sell it.
So you think once it's mined completely, it's just over?
No. Once the speculative bubble reaches its top, once there's no more suckers willing to believe that Bitcoin will go higher.
I think I don't know. I think that they're not ready to get rid of it. I think that,
well, it will destroy itself because eventually that final top will come in and it will stop making new highs. Maybe we're not there yet. Nobody knows where that final top will be. If they did,
like a currency,
make a lot
right?
of money shorting it. What?
It's like a currency. So if you were to look at it and study it and try to make money off of it, are you going to look at it like a currency? Do you look at it like a commodity? What would it be considered?
Well, it is a currency. I mean, a commodity has a par value. It has it can be consumed for its own sake.
Yeah.
Oh wait, never mind. There we go.
Stu been shooting a shot for me, but yesterday he shot a shot for me.
Yeah, I'm not seeing Jeremy on the list.
Really served his country that well. He's just resting on his laurels.
Yes, but where it comes from, it's what you just read. It's about someone that accomplished something and now they're resting in their laurels. But now it takes a different connotation, right? Which is well, they're resting in their laurels without deserving it, which is really what it means. Don't rest in your laurels.
Is it the rate of 9 people? Does anyone know? Maybe Mayo or said no. In Hebrew, it's the rate of 9.
I never heard that expression.
Norm, welcome to Oh My God.
I just heard a new expression
Thank you.
yesterday, Daniel.
Thank you.
I have to remember. It was Mubalet Kisara. I never heard confused like a hair. I never saw such an expression. Are you there, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm saying there's a lanuach al zerad of not to rest on Daphne leaves, but I will Google it soon. I'm walking now.
What's the expression? Mubal Kisara. Floating in the wind?
מבולבל כשערה?
Yeah.
I never heard of this.
Let me read it exactly. Oh, it got even worse. 1 second, I have to tell. אימא יותר ישנה ושוקעת, מבולבלת כשערה.
Okay, hold on. I got a phone call. Be right back.
What is that?
It's confused like a hare. She's in bad shape, and they said my mother is getting more and more sleeping and quiet and confused like a hare. I'm assuming it means floating in the wind, but I never heard the expression. But now it just got worse. I got another message that she's completely non-responsive.
Anyway, I've been been trying to go back to the conversation for too long. I think it's time for me to let it go. Did you guys speak more about the narcissism and the religions like that after we left?
I'm fresh blood. You could bring back the old conversation because I haven't heard it yet. Before after narcissism from the other room.
Yeah, we just came in the room where Diego and Princessia were, and they were talking about, and Kevin. They were talking about how Trump is a narcissist, or, well, Kevin was accusing him of being a narcissist. And so they opened this conversation about narcissism and what it means, like both socially and medically and everything. And then somehow we ended up talking about which religion or what culture breeds more narcissism. And I said that, in my opinion, it was Islam that breeds more narcissism. Then probably Christianity, and the last one would be Judaism.
I don't
And
think you can make a statement like that. It's more like just a fun conversation. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have. This is all hunch based, of course, just observational theories.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then someone was saying in the chat that the Jews were the OG narcissists because of the belief in that they're the chosen.
Every population thinks they're special. That's one of their survival beliefs. The Chinese think that they have a special energy called qi, which is what the name Chinese comes from. The Japanese, I'm sure you recall, thought that they were the superior Asian race.
But it's not even that. She was completely Nora. She was so off the mark. All what I said was, were you in the room, Nora?
Partially.
So what I said was Judaism believes to be correct. It just gives grace to other people depending on how they received and the messages and the learning that they had. So it doesn't judge a person, although it still asserts religion to be correct. So she went off on that and how narcissistic it is compared to the other Abrahamic faiths, which was completely insane, like everyone pointed out to her, because every Abrahamic thinks it's the correct religion. So she skipped the difference between Judaism and the other two and picked on the one that every religion on this planet has exactly the same.
I thought you handled that particularly well. I thought that was a very insightful answer. That we judge somebody based on the knowledge that we have. I think that's a wonderful answer. Right?
I don't think she got it. She was so stooped in her bias, which is what she's calling narcissism. It's not even narcissism, but she's calling it narcissism. So stooped in her bias that she was calling Judaism narcissistic, which was kind of ironic. Not kind of, very ironic.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an attempt to, like, I don't know if to troll or get under the skin or something.
Double
It's
Agent
just
tried to
like
assassinate me
making that
today,
one
but
statement, like, oh,
we
yeah,
didn't get
well,
the shot
Jews are
in. It's
narcissists
so
because
funny. I
they're
built up enough
And it
goodwill
was
with
just like
some of these
very
people that
nitpicky, you know?
Double Agent doesn't have the equivalent or superior goodwill.
She truly believed it. She's that shallow. I took it as sincere.
Her thoughts have never deaf, to be honest.
You know she's gonna try to. I guarantee you she's gonna find this recording and listen to this analysis of her.
Hello, Samson.
What are we doing?
What's up, man?
What's happening, brother?
Chilling hard.
What?
Chilling hard.
Oh, chilling hard. Good.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think she was really into the conversation. Anyway, I would like to ask her.
Destroyed the room. Like
Mike always destroys the rooms. I don't know what the hell is going on with him. I was very tolerant of him before.
Is that his name? Adrian? Mike?
Mike,
sorry.
No, she's not talking about Adrian. She's talking about Mike Fraker.
No, Adrian was just in the audience. Mike Fraker.
Adrian's the guy who's recording everything.
Yeah, but he could be a troll and he could give nothing burgers, but he didn't today. He was just there. He just existed. Mike was giving these long soliloquies about AI and like whatever. It was very Mike.
I was putting things in the chat about narcissism and the mythology of narcissism, as well as maybe some of the symbolic signification of, narcissists. But yeah, I mean, everybody's different, and Mike is who he is. Everybody's on the struggle, or they're supreme. But I mean, if you're so amazing, chances are you're not going to be on this app.
Adrian, are you a narcissist?
Bold statement.
I want to say I have a healthy ego, that I am capable of affection. But I, like everybody, I like to return what I receive, or I give respect to get respect. And a lot of people honestly don't know how to have conversations. They just talk over each other. It seems like they can't hear. So I think listening, or the symbol of the ear, is truly like the most powerful symbol, maybe more powerful than a tongue or or the lips. So, your ears are the canals to your temple, and some people seem to have a lot of fucking earwax in those canals.
ugh, yeah.
Evocative imaging, like
I never found earwax disgusting. I always found it rather charming.
Do you chew your finger after you put it in your ear?
I don't know. That's disgusting.
I don't know, since he doesn't find it disgusting. I was just wondering.
No, it goes on Q-tips, and then I throw them away. But I feel like a little bit relieved after I take it out.
it's interesting. We do disgusting things to feel cleaner.
Well, the disgusting thing is the maintenance. It's like, your butt.
Yeah.
I think I told you I used a Toto toilet, like with all the bells and whistles for the first time. Like I used it before, but never with all the buttons and everything. And it was like wash and dry. Like it was an uncanny experience, really. I felt crisp.
Yeah, I want to say something about narcissists. You could look at Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, Noah. You could look at any prophet, patriarch, or holy man and say that guy's a fucking narcissist, because they are essentially doing mania, And I've heard McZed say, I have a God complex. I don't have a God complex. I'm interested in studying psychology, mania, neurotic behaviors, narcissism. So I'm just saying there is a correlation between mania and religious ecstasy. And if you use it for good, maybe you'll do good. But if you use it for bad, then you end up becoming a sadistic murderer. And I think it's fair to say that there is a lot of criticism about Muhammad and about what he did and how he used God to essentially justify murder. And a lot of people do that. And it's happening today, right now, I'm sure, somewhere on the planet.
It sounds like you're opposed to sadistic murder, which is a personal bias, I think.
Yeah, I'm against murdering people. I mean, you never. Anyways, I think I made my point.
At least you got my irony. It's all about me.
The whole thing with C.G. Jung in psychology is the Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer Tov, and incorporating the Yetzer Hara and eliminating it or extinguishing it by returning to wisdom. So if you read Dhammapada, a Buddhist book, or you read the Bhagavad Gita, a Hindu book, or you read the New Testament or the Old Testament or whatever, if you return to that wisdom, it should help essentially shrink the ego.
Adrian, have you ever heard the Talmudic story of how the rabbis did not destroy the Yetzer Hara?
No, I haven't read it.
Okay, so this is a cool story. This is a weird story. This is also, according to the Talmud, the reason we don't have prophecy. Okay? So at some point, the rabbis decided through their mystical rabbinic ability to slaughter the Yetzer Hara. Right? So they killed the Yetzer Hara for avodah zarah, idolatry. So people no longer care at all about bowing down to fake gods, right? That was considered like a success. But then they went one step further. They tried to destroy all desire for lust. And then the people stopped having relations with each other and weren't procreating. So they didn't kill that one. They let that one live. But the reason there's no prophecy is because when they killed the Yetzer Hara for idolatry, it killed man's desire to seek out God, and thus no more prophecy. Except there's always an except. The exception is children and crazy people. They still get nevuah.
It's interesting. So, I mean, the Tao symbol, the yin and yang, like El Normo said, the chi, with regards to Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Tov, Daniel in the chat said, there's good people, there's bad people. So I do think there are good Muslims. I do think there are good Christians. There are good Jews, but there's also bad people. So the concept of evil in the world is really the action component. How do we, act towards each other, or what decisions are we making? And are we conscious, or what they call mindful or aware of good and evil? And it is partly aesthetic, I would say, to a certain extent, but it's inherent in the system. You cannot remove the Yetzer Hara. I mean, you need a Yetzer Hara to have a Yetzer Tov. That's what I'm trying to say, is that there's this duality between the two aspects of good and evil. And I mean, hopefully you're on the right side of history, and hopefully you survive. I'm just saying, on October 7th, they were not using critical thinking skills.
Those were not the good guys.
Well, thus they use Yetzer Hara from their documentation, from their interpretation, from their bias, from their programming, and they utilized it to do evil.
There seems to be a level of barbarity in this population, Adrian, that is excessively evil. I'm sorry to have to say.
I mean, weren't the attackers on October 7th high on meth? Weren't they found to have ingested?
I believe it's called Captagon, yes.
And I mean,
yes. That's just part of it.
I mean, the Nazis, as well as U.S. soldiers during World War II, a lot of the pilots were using methamphetamine to stay awake for 24-hour operations. I'm not saying that that's connected to evil per se. I'm just saying that a stimulant used in the acts of barbarity seem historically to be, significant.
I went to a funeral for a good friend yesterday, a former student.
So Mixed, how do Hasidic people rationalize premature death through the concept of souls?
How do you mean?
Meaning, if your house burns down on Shabbos and the whole family gets wiped out, what would the spiritual rabbi say about the soul, and with regards to these innocent lives lost, or these premature deaths, which is a tragedy?
Death happens. Like, that's one of the primary reasons people turn to religion.
I know, but isn't the rationalization reincarnation? That's what I'm trying to get at, is reincarnation.
Reincarnation? Hasidim, they go into Gilgulim a bit. Not really my branch of Judaism.
I don't know. To me, it just seems like a coping mechanism, which may be fine and dandy, but it's still conceptual. But I have heard, Hasidic people or very spiritually Jewish people say that, when there's great tragedy, that this was their life. It does seem like a destination or a predestination rationalization.
I mean, it is, right? It is what happened.
I enjoy that view. Do you enjoy the company of other men? F you. Where are you from? It took me 3 hours to figure out that F you meant Felix Unger.
Felix, blasted Felix.
Are they still going?
You buy it from an exchange. You go to an online exchange. They take your dollars.
So so since 1 Bitcoin is worth that much, would that then mean that there's a fraction of a Bitcoin that you can purchase? Excuse my
Bitcoin can be sold.
Is this for real?
Many digits of fractions, like 9 digits or something.
Okay, so now I'm starting to wrap I'm like a math person, so I'm trying to visualize this in my mind, and so. Is your name Isaac?
Yes, sir. You are.
May I say something? If I have a chance.
Go ahead, Marty.
Hi, I'm Bonnie. Nice to meet you guys.
Happy anniversary, my lady.
Thank you. He invited me to this room.
Brian is such a charmer.
But I'm trying to understand what your argument is, Bree, because I think what Isaac is saying is the idea of the medicine that. Let me finish because I did not.
Most people think a great God is gonna come from the sky and take away everything. They kicked me real quick.
Get out of my room.
I'm so sorry. He was asking about.
I'm not going to tolerate having people that are supposed to be killing of faith Hassan Nasrallah Mafia. And I'm not going to support, 1 second, Olivia, and I'm not going to support anyone that's against the Hizbiyah. I don't give a fuck about their opinion. They can shove their opinion up their ass.
Yeah, maybe you can kick Carmen also because she doesn't support it.
No, but she wasn't rude. She doesn't support it. She doesn't care about it. She's
No,
not
I
into
don't.
that.
No, I don't.
They kicked El Norma.
Being killed.
There you go. But this guy was in rooms. Full talking, backing the IDF, a proper Zionist.
Yeah.
No, the other room, he was asking, what would we name Gaza next time, guy? And I said, what about Palestine? And he said, fuck you, and then he's cursing me. He was so rude. That guy.
Yes, there is no wait. Opinion about what? Hashimi, opinion about what? Can I take your house?
Listen. The thing is, I disagree.
No. If I took your house.
You asked me a question, bro, right? So let me answer. You asked me questions and you stop talking. What kind of question is that? Listen, my methodology is not like radical to curse and stuff. I don't see any solution in that, right? So I actually talked with this guy for 2-3 hours, and we came to a conclusion to agree to disagree, right? We talked about politics. We talked about him. He's supporter of IDF and Zionism. I know that, but the way to deal with him for me is not to curse and remove him, right? I sit and try to understand him and try to reach to a conclusion. And the last time we talked, we reached to a conclusion that Palestinian innocent people don't deserve to die, and he actually supported that. So, I mean, listen, is he for a push? I don't care. Whatever you guys want to do. Hashim, I want to
Mayor and Joe chose something.
Yeah, but Hashmi, can I just tell you something? I want you to be careful because he's a gay. So
If someone like
no, he literally had the LGBT flag when he first came on. He took it out 'cause he's literally. So I think he's just lying to you because he wants to get in your pants. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, that's it.
I can't read. Wait, FT wanted to say something. What did he say?
I wanted to say that the conclusion he said he reached was to agree to disagree. So the conclusion already was there. Like you're disagreeing.
Ramsey's my favorite white person.
That's very interesting. Out of all the white people,
I love him the most.
interesting. Voila.
Because he's so nice to children and he cooks good chicken curry like Indian. Chicken. It's something about white people using spices that I admire, you know? Yeah.
Sarah, do you wash your chicken?
Yes. You wash your...
You wash your chicken? Why do people wash chicken? Explain that.
You don't wash your chicken?
You don't wash your chicken.
Yes, you do need to wash your chicken because you can get salmonella if you don't wash it.
You can get salmon.
Cat's gonna be outside doing, picking the fruit, picking the greens up, picking the corn, going out there and picking the tomatoes, picking all the berries. Like, I need us to stop with this whole thing of people don't want to do the work when it's people doing the work now.
Yes, those migrants, immigrants and migrants.
No, people do it back home in the country all the time. What are you talking about? Y'all live in the city. Y'all don't know because y'all live in the city.
Who do you think picking the food in France, in Europe, in those countries?
European.
Is it the Mexicans?
Yeah.
Are the Mexicans picking the food in France?
It's the Africans. The Africans go to France.
Guess what? If I go home right now to Louisiana, with all this education, all these certifications, and all of this shit, in this career, my black ass gonna be outside with my visor on, picking that fucking food up. All of it.
Why aren't the Africans picking the food in America?
They don't need it because their education doesn't require them to.
It's easier
Oh, but I
for
thought
the
they don't pick
Africans
fruit,
to
right?
get to France
That's what I'm
than it is
saying.
to America.
Because I'm in California, and the migrants, they're doing the work.
What kind of phone you got?
People that live in those rural areas that will do that labor. I need y'all to understand that. You're acting like this is being done in Houston, and this is being done in San Francisco or New York. Those orchards, I came from Detroit, we have orchards everywhere. The people that live in those rural areas are willing and able to do the work. They're versed in it. They grew up doing it.
Then you gotta remember the demographics out here. There's not a high population. Well, where I live, the population of black people is not that high.
City the way you do now. So it seems like I would have a much different view than he does.
Well, I guarantee there's no chance that will happen, but people believe that it will. That's actually a trading opportunity. Every time Bitcoin hits one of these tops, it's a great time to short it. So, the people who believe this false premise, they can lose their money on that basis.
Yeah, I made a lot of money, so I'm not really worried about that.
But where did that money come from? That gain was somebody else's loss.
Is it? I mean...
Wait, when you say you made a lot of money, what does that mean? Does that mean dollars?
It means a nominal fiat appreciation.
But does that include your current position, or did you actually exit?